Hey everyone, Dylan here, and welcome to Old Catch Me Up Review. That's right, we're going back in time. I wonder how many of these I've started with that as the intro. Anyway, we're going back in time right now to the January 8th, 2025 review of AEW Dynamite. That is right, once again we are lighting the fuse because it's time for Dynamite on this channel. Alright, let's get right into it. The show starts off without an intro, but Excalibur announces the members of the announce team, which is him, Ian, I don't know, I think it was Ian, and Daddy Magic. Excalibur then announced that Kenny Omega will be on the show later on tonight. Will Osprey then comes out, I think it cuts him off. He comes out to go against Buddy Mathews to get revenge for Brody King, who lost the week before. They show everybody that Osprey has been the past couple weeks. I think it was in the Continental Classic tournament, if I'm not mistaken. And they show everybody that Buddy Mathews has also beaten in the past week when he came out. They have the, I don't know how else to word it rather than the Osprey flip sequence that starts off the match that he normally does. I appreciate it. It's crazy. By the way, I think originally I said the coming up week was Maximum Carnage. Just a side note that real quick. It's not this review, it's the next week's review. Honestly, I think that this was a great opener. It ended up lasting about 15 minutes. Great way to start off the show with wrestling. That's for all the people who chanted, "We want wrestling" last episode. Osprey ends up winning the match with a hidden blade. Then he cuts a promo saying, "Give it up for Buddy Mathews." That's exactly how he worded it. And in my head I said, "Oh man, you know what, it's the thought that counts." He then tells him that he is him and that him and King doesn't need a leader. They both are good enough for tag team singles, whatever they want, gold. They are good enough for it. He tells Buddy that if he ever needs a man in his corner, that he is his guy and he will do it in a heartbeat. He sticks out his hand to him and they shake. Then Osprey leaves the ring as the crowd chants for Buddy, and that was a pretty dope segment, I'm not even gonna lie. After that, we get a hype video for last Sunday, What Happened. Spoiler alert, I didn't really watch it. I think it was not IRL, because IRL last Saturday was the Australian show, which I will eventually get up on here on my list of things to catch up on. When this was airing, the last Sunday was like AEW's first pay-per-view of the year. I forget what they called it. I skipped it because it was a pay-per-view and I don't have the money for that. After that, we have the, at the time, Tag Team Champions Private Party come out to the entranceway for like a little VIP area segment. Isaiah cuts a promo talking about how they were the first tag team match on Max for Collision last, I think, Friday. And then they talk about how great they are. They hop up their own team. And then they said that they should celebrate. And when they say that, the Hurt Syndicate comes out. They said that they're here to party. And MVP says that he was the one that kind of invented this whole VIP lounge thing. He's not here to run their day. He's just here to party. He hypes up Private Party for a little bit and then toasts to him. And after that, Bobby Lashley says that he's here to take those tag team titles. They pour out the shots. I think they literally pour them on Private Party, either that or they just literally dump them on the ground. And then Bobby Lashley goes to his one-on-one match against Mark Briscoe. MVP is on commentary for this, and Shelton Benjamin is ringside. It's a great showcase match for Bobby Lashley to make him this like big monster. He ultimately wins with his one-arm spear that he does, the one-arm slam, and then the Hurt Lock. Bobby hooks it a little bit longer after the bell rings, and then Shelton Benjamin helps beat down his opponent until Private Party come to the ring with chairs to save Mr. Briscoe. They have a stare down for a little bit with the Hurt Syndicate until the Hurt Syndicate ultimately leave the ring. When we come back from ad, we see Hangman Adam Page come out for his, I think they're doing the Casino Battle Royal. I was trying to read my notes to refresh myself on this, but it says this, as the second participant, Jay White, comes out. Okay, yes, it's a Casino Battle Royal where him and Jay White are 1 and 2 respectively. The winner of this match will get a shot at Jon Moxley's title next week. After a couple minutes, Wheeler Yuta comes out and battles with Jay White for their little mini feud they're having going on right now. More minutes pass, and then it's entry number 4 or whatever's time. You hear Swerve's music play, gets that big pop, and then the Who's House, Swerve's House chant, and then Ricochet comes off just to give him that much more heat. Adam Cole is the next one to come out. They bring up their history and how Adam Cole was the one who went out of his way to recruit Paige to the Bullet Club back in the day. Made me feel a little nostalgic, but also a little old because, God, Bullet Club, that peak Bullet Club was 8 years ago. Jeez. He does his Adam Cole Bebe spot in the middle of the ring. And then after that, TNT champion Daniel Garcia comes to the ring. They brawl for a little bit. Then the heel alliance of Wheeler and Ricochet win. They end up, not win the match, but they take advantage till big man Powerhouse Hobbs comes out and he just clears the ring, takes everybody out. Also, his gear for the night looks so freaking sick. After everybody ends up fighting and having their spot, everybody then dies because Murder Hawk comes out next. Remember when he was called that? That's right, Lance Archer. He ends up throwing Roderick Strong onto Adam Cole, which, by the way, Roderick Strong came out sometime in the making of all this. He dominates everybody until Hobbs comes into the ring. They have a little stare down, and then a spot where they just beat the crap out of each other. Murder Hawk slams Hobbs, and he answers that by immediately getting up and no-selling it. They have a big, big man meat brawl type of deal until Kyle O'Reilly comes out. Sequence happens where the Undisputed Kingdom, the United Kingdom's the real place, where they're dominant until Double J comes out and he gets a big old pop. Wheeler Yuta immediately takes him out from behind and beats him up. They end up brawling to the back. So I wrote down, so I guess they both are out technically. They have a ring clear out spot until Archer and Hobbs are the only ones. They beat each other down again. And honestly, I need this program, especially if they add a little title stipulation for it. So yeah, there's a lot of awesome spots like this, but ultimately Hobbs ends up beating Kyle O'Reilly. I think he uses his finisher, and he gets a number 1 contenders match against Mox for the title next week. I wrote down, if they give him enough fuel, I'm telling you, this could be his year. And I still believe that, even though I know how this ends up ending. He then gets interviewed, asked about how he feels for his going into his match next week. And Hobbs says, let's shoot for a second. He talks about how Mox brought him into AEW, and that next week he's not only going to shock the world, but he's going to make Mox his bitch. I wish. That would be so nice. I knew that Mox was going to win even on this episode, but God, I really wanted Hobbs to win. So they did a good job at trying to make him the babyface that shows that he has a chance to win. After he finishes his interview, Jeff Jarrett's on the ramp and shakes Hobbs' hand. Then he goes to the ring to cut a promo. As he's going to the ring, they give a little hype vignette package to show what's all happened between Christian and Hook throughout the weeks. After that, we get an interview from JFF. He hypes up how much Tennessee, the place that we are currently at, means to him, and then Jeff is asked how he feels. Well, I guess he asks a rhetorical question. I don't know. I didn't write it down verbatim. He asks if he still has what it takes to climb that mountain, and before we get that answer, there's another person that comes out, one of the contenders for the title, MJF. He calls him a name and then tells him to get out of his ring. MJF just hypes up who he is and reminds Jeff that he lost his title shot after he lost this match. And how everybody wants to challenge for that title. MJF says that none of them are worthy, but Double J is. He then takes a shot at how old Double J is and tells him that clock's ticking for that title reign. You got your retirement. And he's also done some digging. And turns out his contract he signed is actually for 1 more year, not 5 years. That got a big ooh out of the crowd. He says that he signed it not because he wanted to, but because that's all that professional wrestling wants to give him. That's MJF's words. He says that he can help Double J become champion again, then insults him, calls him old. In return, he gets a title rematch. That's all he's asking. He asks him if he wants to make a deal with the devil. And Jarrett thinks it over, then asks for the mic. Jarrett says that MJF's great, but just because he's on top doesn't mean that he will get back on top. He then calls Mox a one-hit wonder. He talks about the road he has gone down and talks about how he's been at rock bottom. He knows what it takes to scratch and claw to get to the top. He then says he has the opportunity to enter that gauntlet, but he tried to scheme instead, referring to Mox. He says that he doesn't need Mox's help and he ain't buying them. He then calls him an entitled prick and then he walks on and leaves him. When we come back from ad, they show Darby falling down the stairs last year, and then Cope comes out and tells the Death Riders that it was a mistake going after FTR and that Mox will pay for his sins. He calls out Mox saying that certain people don't have to grind to compete for the title, and while he disagrees, nobody has the grind that he has. That makes zero sense. What? Oh, okay. Mox said like a couple weeks prior to this that nobody has the grit or the guts or whatever to go after his title anymore, but Cope does. Cope talks about breaking his neck, breaking his leg, and each time he got right back up. He then questions what Mox can do to him that hasn't been done before to him. Death Riders then come out as he's talking, but as they jump the barricade, FTR come out to beat them down. They have a big-ass brawl where Cope and Mox are just fighting. Cope was ready to hit a spear, but Marina Shafir grabs his foot. He pulls her up to the rope, but the bastard Pac uses the briefcase to hit him. They take out FTR, then choke out Cope on the rope. I think it's a hang spot on the rope, I think. As they are about to put the plastic bag over his head, Powerhouse Hobbs comes out and scares off all the Death Riders, which makes zero sense to me. They then plug the remainder of the show, go into next week, and then we get an ad break. Come back, Mariah and Maze cutting a pre-recorded promo that Harley Cameron interrupts, suggesting the two of them fight on Collision. It goes from like a friendly thing to like, I'm going to be friendly, but I'm going to throw shit your way, to just them both being hostile towards each other real fast. After that, we go to the ring, where we have the newcomer, Toni Storm, coming into the ring. She fights against Kris Statlander and Willow, with the winner next week will get a women's gauntlet spot. During Willow's entrance, freaking Ian has a freestyle for it. It makes me pop. I wish I wrote it down, but I still remember it. It was so funny. Kris Statlander ends up winning this match with, I think they called it the Night Fever. And I disagree with the winner, but hey, it's all good. Everybody probably that's in this match will still be in the gauntlet next week. After ad, Toni Storm is interviewed, asked why she didn't win. She says she gave it her best, but she's clearly not ready for the big times. But she's going to work hard, and still she kind of lays into this whole forgotten memory shtick, but it's okay. Give it literally like a couple weeks and it'll have the payoff. After that, we get the return of the Kenny Omega, where after being gone for 13 months, he comes out with a new theme. I think he used it at the New Japan show. It's so better than the other theme he had. I hated that theme. Asterisk, definitely not Devil Sky. That is like the pinnacle Kenny theme. But I understand why he didn't want to come back with that. If you use freaking Devil Sky, that comes with too many implications too. You have to be like the best bout machine when you do that. And unfortunately, given his current situation, he can't do that anymore. He high-fives everybody in the ring and then cuts a promo in the middle of the ring talking about his medical condition and how he could have died if he didn't go to the hospital when he did. He talks about how during that time he did question retirement, but then he realized without all of us, he doesn't have anything. And it says he's back to prove that the newer version of Kenny Omega is just as good as the past. No money craze, no title craze, no revenge this time. He then gets cut off by the Don Callis family, specifically Don Callis. He tries to say something to Don, but Omega ends up beating him up. And then Cage and Archer end up beating up Omega for that. Kyle Fletcher comes down to the ring to finish the beat down on Kenny. Then Brian Cage punches Kenny with the safest gut punch ever, but like kayfabe, not really. He punches him right in the gut, tries to give him a powerbomb, but Osprey ends up saving Omega with a chair. he gets rid of all them and then turns to Kenny. He thinks about swinging the chair at Kenny, but then he ends up dropping it. They exchange words and stare down. That's how we end the segment. They run down the card for next week, and Osprey ends up leaving as they're staring down. And that's how we end up ending the show, ladies and gentlemen. Bang, bang. I don't know what that outro was. But yeah, good-ass show. Good build-up. They're definitely building up this whole Osprey and Omega thing. I'll be honest with you, as of whenever this airs, I'm going to keep that kayfabe. I still am not fully caught up with Dynamite and Collision and Grand Slam. Grand Slam is an Australian show. I've been trying to think of that for 5 fucking hours. But yeah, I'm so happy I just remembered the name of that show. Threw off my whole train of thought. Right, yeah. Even as recording this, I'm not like fully caught up. I know like bits and pieces of stories here and there for AEW, but I'm not fully caught up as we're speaking. I'll hopefully be caught up by the end of the week. So, you know, if you like these little reviews, I can't guarantee they're going to be on here day to day to day to day to day and so on basis. But I got about, let's see, I did week 1. We're on week 7 of the new year. So that means 6. Counting this, I got about 5 more shows, give or take, for both Dynamite and Collision. So let's see, I got about 11 more episodes to catch up on, not counting this week, so 13 more. Point taken, if you just want to tune into this channel, if you like AEW content, I'll have more reviews of the weeks that have passed for Dynamite, Collision, and Grand Slam. As long as it's a TV special and not a pay-per-view, it'll be on here. Alright, enough plugging and shelling. I'll see y'all next time I see y'all.